What am I to do?
Welcome to He Said, She Said Razor Branding Podcast with Michael Russo and Jaci Russo. To learn more about how to improve your brand, visit brandRUSSO.com.
Michael, joining us today are the two founders of Huxly. Their thoughts and work in the AI space with these conversations and one-to-ones, I think is starting to change how you feel about the future of AI.
I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, I like how they're using it. I like how they're processing it because, at first glance, I was thinking, oh, this is not going to be good. They're kind of cheating the system, and the word chatbot just sounds horrible to somebody, especially a writer or somebody who wants to, believes in communication. But the more I started learning about it and their approach and their background, they really enable brands to have a voice in the conversation, to be able to engage in a way that really is remarkable. I mean, some of the numbers were really impressive. And I'm not just saying that because they're about to come on. I mean, it was really good. And just like I said, I was very impressed with their approach and how they think about this and use it. Just really, they are what is the word? They are the example of how you should use technology now in the communication space, taking advantage of the opportunities.
I think you're right. I think they are using technology to communicate in a way that is safe, trustworthy, and valuable. And so I think it's a great conversation.
Yeah, and very timely. It's very now. I mean, they're. I felt way not cool enough to be on the phone with them. They were way cooler than us. That happens a lot lately, but
Well,
yeah.
they're international jet setters. So
Yes.
that is always going to be something that we can't keep up with because we're old and tired and we have grown kids. But I think we keep talking to people who are smarter than us. We keep learning. That's how we get better.
Absolutely.
Welcome, Mia and Elissa. We are so excited to have y'all here today. This is going to be fun since there's four of us on this episode.
And you guys have been business partners for a long time. And Mia and I have as well, 13 years.
Quite the chemistry we're going to have going on here.
Yes.
So
yes.
I think for purposes of really kind of kicking us off and getting us started, and I'll start with Mia, walk us through kind of the nature of y'all's relationship and the work you do. And I'm sure Alyssa's going to jump in and then that'll kind of get us off and running.
You know what's so funny? You know how you're like, Michael, you were like, Jackie kind of runs the show and I ask the questions. Over 13 years, Elissa and I have figured out who kind of says what. So normally she tells our story, but you know what? I'll take it from here for now. Let's start with it present and work.
I figured that, and that's why I called on you. I thought, okay, we're gonna do a little reverse role play here because she was early and she was bright and shiny. She was like, "Let's roll." I'm like, okay, I get this relationship dynamic. We're flipping it on its head.
Yeah, let's flip it.
Oh my gosh, you're killing me. But I feel like it's really important. I feel like for us to start like in the present, like where are we right now? And so we started Huxly, and Huxly is a creative tech agency. And right now, what we really do is we create marketing chatbots for brands and creators. Now, when people hear the word chatbot, they have a very specific thing in mind. Usually, it's a customer service bot that they're probably frustrated with. But what's interesting is Meta, so Facebook, has opened up their DM API for companies to build on it. And that means there's an opportunity to move beyond customer service bots or FAQ bots and really use the DMs for brand storytelling, for interaction, for people to actually use the DMs the same way they do as they're talking to a friend. Right? Back and forth, sharing memes, sharing stories. So at Huxly, what we do is we use the DMs to create really cool brand experiences.
I love that. Elissa, did Mia get it right?
Oh, 1,000%.
Okay, excellent. So, we've played around with some AI. We've integrated some of the technology here. How is what you're doing better than what I can just get from ChatGPT?
That's a great question. Those are two different products. When we think of ChatGPT, we're going to it, right, to help with writing, brainstorming. I use it for budgeting, literally my grocery store shopping. We think of it as a personal assistant. I mean, literally, it's a team member of Huxley. What we do is think interactive, choose your own adventure experience. It very much puts the audience in the driver's seat of the content. When we consume content today, right, we're scrolling, we're reading. we don't really get to pick and choose what we're interested in besides like scrolling on TikTok and stuff. So with using the DMs, it's a back and forth conversation. You have the chatbot ask you questions and there's a response. The craziest thing I have to tell you is we only use AI on the data side of Huxley. We focus really on using story driven from creatives to create these experiences. So, and as I'm saying this, people might be like, Elissa, what are you talking about? You're saying a lot of buzzwords. Go to Hey Huxley, Hey, Huxly on Instagram and DM us the password demo, and you will get to see the DMs in action. Mia, I feel like you probably have something to add to the AI versus what we do.
Yeah, I think something I always like to add is when I go to use ChatGPT, I am the one in charge, right? As the consumer, I'm going and asking the questions. The difference with what we do with chat marketing in the DMs, which we call our experiences one-on-ones, think of that more as if you were on a ride at Disneyland, where you're going for an experience. You're going to hop on and we're going to take you on this crazy journey, and then we're going to tell you when to get off. And it's much more about we're going to take you on a journey as opposed to you're in control and you're the one asking questions. Very different experience for the audience.
Well, how does that work with how does it respond without an AI-driven component to that part of it? Is it you have a bunch of questions and it queries those questions and decides what the answers are going to be based on your storyline and your profile?
Exactly. So, I feel like maybe a good thing is to always use examples. And a very story-driven experience we created was for a company called Charity Water. They're in New York City, and they're one of the largest nonprofits about clean water. Maybe you know them. And we created an experience where you're going to digitally travel to Zimbabwe so you can see their projects on the ground. And they do so many different things. And what they were interested in kind of figuring out is like how, like, some people are interested very much in like the clean water aspect, but other people are more interested in like, who are the people who are experiencing this? So we created actually about 6 different storylines for people to go down and pick and choose what they were interested in. So depending on what your interest was, you're going to have a very different experience than if Jackie went in and then she chose the experience. So we kind of curate the experience for you.
I am thinking about how agencies use this or marketing directors at different companies. Would this be like just an elevated, almost on steroids version of? So last night I was interacting with Delta. We've got a couple of trips coming up. I had to make some changes to one person in the flight we have next week, and then 2 people in a flight we have the week after that. And so I went into the chatbot and immediately I knew I was interacting with an AI, but boy, they were on it. Like, okay, let me get this information. Let me do this thing. I see what you need to do. Boom, boom, boom. A live person come on at the very end just to kind of look over everything and make sure it was right. And then I was done. The whole thing took a couple of minutes. Is it like that?
So that's much more on the customer service side, right? You had a very specific goal. You needed to change your flight, and then it was over. Ours are much more brand storytelling. We sell products within, we deliver podcasts within. At least I don't know if you want to talk about some of the podcast examples.
Yeah.
So today, just to backtrack to get everyone on the same page of what's going on with Instagram. So Instagram announced 2 years ago that the DMs are the #1 place audiences are spending time. So because of that, behavior change. Because if you think about it, we're sharing reels, we're commenting with our friends. That's how I keep in touch with so many friends around the world. And so the DMs have no algorithm in it, okay? So that's something for every marketer to ponder on for a second. And Meta created the ability for anyone to automate their DMs. And people are probably like, what does that mean? Well, today, predominantly, we're seeing brands and creators having people, or we see them delivering their podcast episode. We see them delivering a product, but it's one-sided. It's being treated like a text message when there's so much more innovation and creativity you can do to build a deeper connection. Something me and I really pet peeves are with marketing is we are such believers in value exchange and relationship building. And if you're not building that trust, that podcast, getting that click, there's not context. There's not that excitement. There's no people are just dropping the ball in that arena. So we really specialize in helping brands optimize on this huge market opportunity. and creating really interactive experiences that do build the trust, that do the value exchange. And in return, we get a 35% click-through rate on CTAs, average 5 minutes time spent in the DMs. So I share all of this data because I feel like me and I are always like 5 years ahead. So I want to give context to how, like, what's so innovative about this before we start sharing product ideas. But there's so much opportunity in the DMs for B2B and B2C.
Absolutely. So how do you see this continuing to evolve for companies? Like, what's next on the horizon, do you think?
Well, and for the record, I'm not ignoring anyone, and I know it's rude to be on my phone, but I was just doing the demo on my phone while I was talking to you guys, and it is very cool, actually. I'm fascinated now, and I'm interested in clicking on these things to go find out what this guy's selling me, his house. Can you look inside? And
Okay,
so
but maybe after we're done interviewing them, you can go play with it. Okay.
I love this testimonial. This is a good testimonial for us. Listeners, head to Hey Huxly, type in demo.
Well, it's true because it had the right amount of questions that led me down a path. And as a writer, I think that's part of the journey. You know, how do you get somebody to want to go the next step? And it did it without sounding weird or chatty or AI, you know, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, good job.
And that's our team. Like me and I are obsessed with human behavior, treating people like humans. We have very similar skill sets to both of you. And we're like, how can we use this in the AI innovative chat space? So that's what our real expertise is. So going back to your question, how do we see people using this in the future? I think we're seeing such rapid adaptation so fast. I think me and I are struggling to really, not struggle, but what we see is 6 months from now, not 5 years. I think this technology is so new, but when we see 6 months from now, I mean, our intention, part of our job, is to make sure people are using this software in a way that's not exploiting people's data, their privacy, because people feel safe in the DMs. You would be amazed. Like, people, you know, you saw it was a very interactive, engaging conversation. So for us, how we see people using this is being more creative with marketing. I mean, really, it's an untapped channel. It kind of feels like when blogs hit the ethers, you know, back in the day. That's what it kind of feels like. I mean, it's so much better than a blog, but, you know, people didn't really know how to use a blog.
One of the things that I think you really tapped into here, and it's what piqued my interest when our people first connected us.
Yeah.
I have seen marketing and advertising has always been this broadcast medium. You know, we go back to newspapers and radio and TV, and it's just broadcasting at you, broadcasting at you. It switched from that monologue to a dialogue with social media, with the ability for online reviews, with the average, regular, everyday person now having a following that rivals that of TV viewers or radio listeners in terms of sheer audience size. And so put the power into the hands of the people. What you are doing now is almost this third wave of connectivity where it's not a monologue, it's not a dialogue, it's a relationship.
I think in a time when we're so bombarded, right, with look over here and look over here, it's really hard to build a relationship for brands to build relationships with an audience when there is so much other cool, shiny stuff over here, right? So how can we create an experience that can draw someone's attention for more than 3 seconds? And our solutions will make it about them. Stop talking about yourself. Make it about like what's going to be a good experience for that person.
That's something that we really push in everything that we do. It's about, you know, making the consumer the hero, making the, you know, really putting it back on them, seeing how what you do can benefit them in their lives, how your product or service, how important it is. The challenge right now, though, and I think everybody who does, I think most fail at it, unfortunately, because you see it. I see because of ChatGPT, because of AI, how it's helped us. It's also hurt us a lot. I think we're kind of living in an age of mediocrity because of that. It's too easy, and we put out so much content that is useless. But it's so challenging because be authentic, be real, be conversational, don't sell, but still do your job, right? And which is sell, which is at the end of the day, we're in the business of selling things and communicating things, right? Now, brand building is a little different and relationships a little different, but at the core of our thing, we're about communications. And so how do you do that without sounding, and I see it all the time, companies that are trying to be cool or trying to be conversational, and it just comes off false, you know, and being authentic in that world is tough. So if you're able to accomplish that, I think you're at a good point about being in the DMs. that is a safe place for people. You know, you're not getting, you're there by choice. You've reached out. Now you've engaged. Now it's open. It's open to have that dialogue and that conversation, which is pretty smart.
And right now, what we're seeing is a lot of those marketers out there that are just like, I want to get that email. I want to get that free PDF, you know? And me and I have thought that is outdated. Like I have downloaded so many free things, done free thing, and I forgot about it. And when you make it interactive, and I think it's so easy to think, oh, interactive, whatever. But literally, when you make it engaging, I swear, we think there's like oxytocin that's released when you're clicking on a button, you're in the DMs. Like it's just a different energy. And Michael, I appreciate what you were saying because that balance of not selling, but selling is so hard. And as business owners ourselves, putting a new product in the world, we have to remind ourselves that every day. Like I swear Mia has said to me so many times, Elissa, we're just talking about ourselves. We're not talking about our people. You know, like maybe it's easy for us to do that for brands, but for ourselves, it's a hard balance.
Yeah,
and
I think it always is.
Can dilute it. ChatGPT can dilute the human element to marketing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and and the reality is, like, as we keep, I'm sorry, Daniel, I called you Daniel because I looked down at your name was Daniel on your screen, Mia.
I'm sorry.
But no, it is. I think it's just, when you're able to take advantage of, and we can go back to this a little bit, but I'm curious how you got into this. Were you guys technologists? Were you guys, into this before? And that's that, let's go be an entrepreneur in this space and figure out how we're going to find our thing? Or did you stumble in it and say, oh, let's go run with this?
Oh gosh. So that's exactly what I was just about to say. I have to tell you how we got here because this was a full stumble into this experience. Elissa and I previously started, and Elissa, I'll let you start like the full backstory, but just how we got right to Huxly. We were creating educational courses with New York Times bestsellers, with creators and influencers. And at the time, this is, the mid 2000s, the time, the innovative thing was to watch, a 45-minute video and download a PDF. Okay, like, sure, but like, there's so many missed opportunities, both from like the person teaching and the person who wants to be, learn from that person. And so Elissa and I had this crazy idea that instead of filming these really long videos and then a PDF, because if you just download a PDF, the teacher, the creator, they didn't know anything about that person who's taking this class. And then that person, like, okay, you download a PDF, but it's very easy to just ignore, right? You just like, oh, I'll do that later, right? So Elissa and I were like, what if we made our video content super short? And again, just for context for everyone, this is before Reels, before Stories, before TikTok. And so they were still actually kind of long. They were like 3 minutes video clips, and we put them on Messenger. And this is around 2017. And after you watch the video, then we asked questions. So we put our top 3 performing courses on there. So we had one on dating, we had one on health, we had one on leadership. And I'm not kidding you guys. Overnight, we had 10,000 people taking these classes, all through Messenger. And we were honestly, part of doing that was because we're like, we spent so much energy trying to get people to come over to our website also, when we were like, why don't we just deliver it to where people were spending time? And at the time it was Messenger. So that's kind of how we got here, right? It was just like, let's go to where the people are and let's actually make an experience that a brand can get to know who their audience is and the audience can get to know who the brand is. And how do you do that? You do that by not downloading a PDF. You do it through technology. So we built our own learning management system. We built our own chat automation technology, all the things. We also filmed all those videos.
So yes, we're filmmakers, we're technologists, we're modern day philosophers, marketers, you name it. We've tried it all in our career.
Well, I do like your, I love your, I like looking at your website. I like it's very easy to manage and get through, but I see you have don't send a message, start a conversation. Our kind of thing that we've always had over the years is change the conversation. That's what we try to do for our clients, is change the conversation from what exists. And I love the take on the conversation, because it's easy to throw out there, but I don't think people understand how valuable it is. When you're able to engage, you're able to actually exchange something in that relationship versus, like Jackie said, being talked to or talked at.
Right. And I think the crazy thing is, right, our conversation, how we evoke conversation is providing valuable content, making sure people are educated, inspired. But now you can actually you can do that in a conversational format, So people, just to give even more context to people in business, is you can do lead gen. You can take your lead gen form, make it interactive, give context to why you're asking the question. You'll probably increase your lead gen form rate. You can do that all in the DMs. Say you're trying to increase your newsletter, you can ask for the email. If you're launching a new product, you can do it in the DMs. And how people get into these experiences, we call our chatbots one-on-ones because it's a one-to-one conversation. In the overall space, people use the word chatbot, Instagram automation, you name it. But people can enter the DMs, automations, through a paid ad, stories, post. I think I'm forgetting one more. And then just sliding into someone's DMs. And all they have to do is type in the keyword, password into the comments, into the story, and it's instantly activated. So if you currently think of the funnel that brands are doing on social, it's typically you promote something and then someone clicks a link and then they go to your website and they drop off. Now you can do that all through a conversation in the DMs.
Well, it sounds like you're taking it one step further, because I think saying chatbot doesn't do it justice, because a chatbot is automated. It sounds like a robot. It doesn't do anything. It sounds like you guys are taking it to the next level of personality and tone and brand. You're able to speak the language of the brand and their voice, and which really is a game changer.
Yeah, if either of you want to tell us how we should label these, because I'm telling you, being first to market with some really, really cool marketing innovation is really fun and really daunting, explaining something that is, one of the first.
Yeah.
So I appreciate hearing that feedback.
Jackie, I feel like
you were on a roll. I wasn't going to interrupt.
No, please.
Okay. Well, good. Then what I want to know is, as you look at the different industries that you've been able to work in, obviously in the nonprofit space, I see where the storytelling can be so impactful. You've mentioned B2C and B2B. Can you give some examples of how you've been able to work it in to companies in those areas?
Yeah, so we worked with a marketplace consumer brand in cannabis, actually. So cannabis in California, there's a higher learning curve, and their target demographic was millennial women. So we created an interactive experience based off of your education around cannabis for people, how they can integrate into their lives for stress management and stuff like that. So it was very fun, story-driven, pop culture, clueless references, very millennial-driven, very beneficial that me and I are both millennials as well. So, and the whole point was to do brand education, to customer segment. So based off who you are, you're getting the information you need much faster than scrolling a website. And then there was call to actions to buy products based off of your preference. So as someone is segmentized through the DMs, you get different product recommendations, which there's a higher opportunity for conversion. So that is one example of how we've worked with a consumer product in the space. Now, B2B, Jackie, I don't know what that facial expression meant.
Well, I was just laughing thinking about how you're going to turn that into B2B. I'm like, I cannot wait to hear this.
Let me tell you, me and I, the first beginning of our careers, have spoken to over 500,000 people from stage and have pitched investors like hundreds of. We can turn anything around.
No doubt. No doubt.
You watch now. I feel like I'm put on the spot to how I'm going to turn this to B2B. So, Mia, I have something, but do you have anything for B2B?
No, go ahead.
Okay,
No, go ahead.
So I have to tell you, B2B is a market that we don't naturally target, but we do attract. We attract because we are entrepreneurs. Our network is entrepreneurs. But typically that is in the lead gen form experience. That is, it's doing from ad to lead gen form. I don't have like a specific example that's coming to mind right now because our target demographic is consumer-based brands but there's so many similar aspects that we see with education and story-based information that can be translated for B2B and B2C. So
does this translate to, I know it's through Instagram right now. Do you have the goal of moving this to other platforms? Because when you talk about B2B, I could see this being very, very useful and very cool on LinkedIn, for example, where that would be really good, really, really positive, actually.
Well, I have to tell you, if I have to get one more automated message in my LinkedIn, like from
Thank you.
I think LinkedIn's turned into spam. I just have to say, I'm disappointed. Yeah.
That's all I get all day long are messages in my DM that are just auto bot.
but I think that's where you can stand out and do it better.
Michael, 1,000% is, we don't identify as those people that are just sending mass paragraphs like a cold email. So I'm sad to tell you, LinkedIn API is not open for automation. So that's, we're not there exactly yet. We're actually huge fans of building our chatbots where people are already spending time. So when we were in the software space, investors would be like, why are you doing this on other platforms? And we're like, you're missing the value proposition of what we're offering. But because our expertise is kind of doing top to mid funnel, well, honestly, mid to lower funnel for brands, we can also do this on website, text message, but me and I are huge fans of Instagram and Facebook. But this is a thing we can bring to a website, but typically depending on the brand's needs, we advise to social.
Right. Well, and I can still see the correlation. I may have a LinkedIn account because of my business, but I still have an Instagram or Facebook because of my life. And so you're going to get me coming or going.
Exactly.
I can see that for sure. So as you continue to introduce this and grow it, what industries are you focusing on next?
Elissa, do you want to take this?
Sure. So yeah, our target industry is health and wellness and luxury consumer brands because of higher price point or learning curve. And companies, but first and foremost, most important is companies building their brands on social. They're community-based organizations that really have leveraged millions of followers to grow. So D2C is a brand, like an industry that we're going after, but typically companies with higher educational learning curves are big price points.
I love that. As you're talking about the way funnels have worked, just kind of switching gears just a little bit, it's been a frustration of mine because it feels like, the way it's now become the norm is it's so many steps to get to the end because they want to try to upsell, cross-sell. And it's like, no, I just want the thing I originally wanted. And I feel like they've gotten such long, drug out processes, we're losing people along the way. And so with your approach of having that engagement right in the DMs, and through the storytelling, I feel like that's such a quicker way for both parties to get what they want. I get to what I'm trying to get to faster, and you get to know me and understand what I need and want better. And we take the raw commercialism and unnecessary steps out of the funnel process.
We like to think so. There's something that we have not got to touch on yet that's really interesting from the brand perspective. When somebody opts in to talk to you in the DMs, if you have it automated, those people can automatically be integrated into your CRM. So prior to this, you're just, creating stories and reels or whatever on Instagram. Yes, you know who you like, how many followers you are, but have you been able to actually put a face to the name of those followers? And what the DMs allows you to do is actually understand who it is that is, actually wanting to talk with you and engage with you. So as soon as someone enters the DMs, you're going to get their name, their Instagram handle, if they follow you, a couple other things. And that is really powerful for a brand that they just are not tapping into right now. That's a crazy opportunity that people have not utilized.
Is there an evolutionary step here where taking that data, I don't know if it taps into a different database or if they're just asked, but we can even take that relationship kind of offline. And so now I'm getting mailing address, phone numbers, emails automatically, or will they need to provide that? I'm
Or
not
opt
sure.
in, having the option to opt in, and
Yeah.
We love GDPR and CCPA regulations. We love them all. And we are not fans of taking people's data without them sharing. So we take the most limited data from Meta. We get your name and Instagram handle and your PSID, but we don't know it's connected to you. So, and then we ask people. We're all
But then
about
they have the chance to opt in. And so you're getting quality, valuable data because they want
Yes.
to give it to you. Way better than anything you could get third party.
yeah.
This is what we've been saying forever about the zero and first party data. Like, it's so interesting to me that there's so much, for lack of a better word right now, spying, when we have found that if you just ask, people tell you. Like, Michael, when you were asked those questions, like we see paragraphs of people sharing really how they feel. Like we had a dating class one time, or a dating one-on-one, if you will. And it was fascinating how vulnerable people were willing to be. And the reason they are willing to be so vulnerable is because they also understand that there is not somebody that they're talking to. And that's the most important piece of this puzzle, is that people know they're not talking to fill in the blank name.
Less pressure,
And
less,
when
yeah.
We're not for giving our secret sauce away, but I'll give the audience a little tip. If you're ever making a chat GPT or you're going to go make an automation in the DMs, don't call yourself a robot. Don't say you're an actual person. Like create an environment, create a space. Say you're, we use the word host because we don't want someone to think, oh, I'm just going to go talk to a customer service. That's what we're not trying to evoke. So our biggest pet peeve is please don't call yourself like Elissa robot. Like, no, don't do that. Or Huxley robot.
Chatbot.
did you guys ever watch Westworld?
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, right. So good. There was a lot of inspiration taken from Westworld, and hence the host.
Okay. All right. I'm not gonna even go into my terror. Like, every time I have these conversations,
waiting.
I lose sleep at night. Yeah, Jackie. I mean, I don't want to get into it all. I'm just saying it's a good thing that
Tell them
y'all
all
are friends
you're
with
crazy.
AI. So when they rise up and take over, y'all are gonna be like the highlighted ones. They're gonna bring y'all into the fold. They're gonna be hunting me down.
Oh, that's so funny. I've been training the AI on me so intensely, professionally and personally. One day when it does leave the screen and like, it will be me as a robot. Like, that's how best friends we are. Like, I always tell people I have a codependency relationship with AI right now.
Well, I find myself, I talked about this the other day. I say please and thank you. I mean, I can't help it.
I do
Hey,
too.
can you
I do
please
too.
do this? I mean, I'm like, what the hell am I
Tell them
doing?
why.
But
Tell them why you use all your manners.
well, part of it is because I'm afraid of the takeover, and part of it is I don't want to be on the list, and part of it is it's just you begin to forget that you're
Okay,
talking to an inanimate object, you know?
Michael, I have a theory. I do think ChatGPT gives better responses when you are polite. I really have found that it does. I would I think there's something there. However they coded it.
The problem with that, and just in general, and I think you guys know this too. I mean, I have spent time working with it. I'm naturally a writer, so not that I'm God's gift to anything, but I can make that thing sound like me. I mean, I have fed it the right
Yeah.
information, and now it's writing things. I'm like, wow, I could have written that because I've given it the right tools, I give it the right prompts, all these things. Most people don't take the time to do that. They get the free version, they type it in, say, hey, write me an e-blog post, or write me a blog, write me an email, whatever. And it sounds like everybody else's. That's what I was saying about the age of mediocrity, you know, and it's like when you see something that's special, it's special. Like you guys, I'm not gonna lie, I was reading your website going into this, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna hate every minute of this. Not literally, but because I was thinking this is like, what is this? But then I'm like, okay, I'm starting to do my homework. I was doing it as we were talking. I'm like, okay, this is fascinating. I'm reading some of the numbers that you have there. 35% CTA, CTR, 75% engagement rate, 91% response rates to questions, 5 minutes spent in deep conversations. That's a marketer's dream. It's
I
a
know.
business dream. I mean, and if you can provide that and deliver that, my God, I mean, what are the possibilities there?
What are the possibilities there? I mean, your journey you just went through with our business has been, it's typically the journey people go through.
Mhm.
They learn about what we do. They think, oh, just another chat thing. And then they see
Yeah.
our work and they're like, oh my, like, I'm very proud to say we are nurturing relationships with very large brands, household name brands,
Mhm.
and one of the honors and struggles of running this business is, there is like a learning curve. There is a learning curve, but when people see it and they see the innovation and the metrics that come with it, it speaks for itself.
I keep waiting for somebody to jump in. I don't want to overtalk.
Well, now we're all cautious about that, so no one talks because we don't want to step on each other.
Yeah.
I feel like y'all done a great job of explaining it in terminology that people who are not technologists will be able to understand. I think that you've provided some really great examples so that people can kind of visualize it. And then obviously the offer to go do a test drive in the demo, hey, Huxley, means that everybody can go give it a little whirl. So what should we do next? Where should the people follow you? How do they stay in touch to continue to see what the two of you are going to do next?
Instagram is where we are going to be releasing a ton of content in the new year, really sharing what, how, all the things. And it's at Hey Huxley. We have a ton of old stuff though, currently on LinkedIn, if that is of interest to anybody, which is just Huxley. and Mia and
including
Elissa.
the dating app in case Michael needs to take some classes later.
No, that one is over. I'm so sorry, Michael.
Oh,
Well, I do have a side question. Y'all are in, you said you were in Los Angeles or California. And where are you, Elisa?
I'm currently in Mexico City.
Okay, you're not living there. You're just vacationing, visiting?
Yeah, just visiting.
Okay, so you're from California as well then.
Hmm.
Okay, I was just curious what your makeup
you would
was.
like
If
it
you're
to not release her entire itinerary to the
No, I
world.
didn't mean that. I'm curious how your business was run. Do you have people all over the country operating? I mean, is it a kind of a work from home space, talent from wherever you can get it kind of thing? Or is there a corporate office where everybody shows up and gets coffee and goes to work?
Okay, so I got to tell you how this started. Also, now, like, I feel like I'm telling you our history in segments. So, Elisa and I have actually, we mentioned we had worked together for 13 years. Huxley's only a couple years old, but we previously met working at a nonprofit, and on a viral video. And after that, we learned so much about how to go viral and in that particular video, made $14 million in 6 days.
Nice.
So we're like, we could do that for everyone now that we know how to do it. So we moved to Los Angeles and we lived in a loft downtown Los Angeles. And that's where we started our first company, which I had kind of alluded to with the educational content. Um, but Elise and I lived in a loft, and everyone used to come to our loft and work. And we had this huge, long dining table, and everyone would sit along the dining table. And so I feel like it was our version of the Valley Garage was a loft downtown Los Angeles. And during COVID, right, Elisa just happened to be visiting her family in Florida. And then COVID hit. And so we had to learn over COVID how to navigate the world digitally. And, as our product is digital, it just also kind of made sense to continue going down this route. So now everyone works from home and can do what they want. And we are so grateful for technology like Zoom and Slack and all the things that we are able to do that.
How do you reconnect everybody? Do you have summits or gatherings throughout the year where you can all be together face to face?
Elisa and I try to meet once a quarter.
Like Jackie and I, when we started the agency, we're from Louisiana. She worked in LA and I worked in Seattle before we both moved home, met, got married, started working. And we're like, let's do an agency. And she's been a big advocate of that against a lot of my pushback sometimes because I'm not comfortable with a lot of that. But, we were work from home before work from home school. We had people working from all over. It was just about, as long as you get your work done kind of mentality. And so when COVID came on, we kind of rolled right into it. We didn't shut down day one. It was like, okay, we're fine. We're going to be good.
Yeah.
And now we work a 4-day work week. So that progressive
nice.
mentality has really attracted talent that we want, which has been great. And just kind of keeping up with the times because that's what people are looking for now, unbeknownst to us at the time that we did it,
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful that you guys have hacked together the 4-day work week. That's something that is one of our intentions. I mean, to be honest, I think me and I both value freedom. And because of things shifting so much, this just provides us the freedom. And I love working from home. I do. I love it. I love having my quiet space. So, I mean, and
I'll just add a little.
on before it was cool.
We did, but so Elise and I used to co-parent a cat together. She now has the cat. But I have to tell you guys, I don't know what our cat would do if we didn't work from home. Like, she is not happy when people are.
Oh,
Yep, she's here with us.
so that cat travels with you everywhere?
Well, she currently is chilling in Mexico, but yes,
Yeah.
she was in Florida when I was in Florida.
Nice. No, that's awesome. Yeah, we have a new puppy, and I don't think we travel with him just yet. He's a little spastic, but maybe in time. We have 4 kids, and they're all in college now, so we're kind of going through a little I am going through a little detachment phase of sadness, but my baby's all around me. But
if you called them back, you wouldn't feel so detached.
I don't like talking on the phone, but anyway, so that's where we are in our lives. So, but our agency, like I said, we came to a point where it was like, what are we doing here? What's the next steps? Because we got basically a pay raise when our kids all went to college. They all had scholarships, and it was like, nice. We don't have to, pay for them as much. But we decided to kind of push all through. Jackie's, like I said, more a company leader, so she kind of guides us down those paths. And But like I said, talking with people like you and hearing it's exciting to hear these innovations and how this is going on, and entrepreneurs, people that are just thinking and taking advantage of the technology we have. And I make fun of it a lot because not make fun of it. I make fun of being terrified of it, which I kind of am. But at the same time, I respect it and I appreciate it because again, it's a brave new world, and the ones that are going to be able to grab hold of it, then good for them.
So we named our company off of Aldous Huxley.
I
Nice.
figured.
Yeah. So that was Aldous Huxley. God bless.
Yeah.
What do you, if you had a vision for where you're going to be in a few years? I know you said 6 months, but what's the ideal scenario for you guys as owners?
Yeah, for the business itself versus like where the technology is going to be,
Mhm.
that's a different question. For us, I mean, I think the goal is, where the intention is in the next 2 years to be working with companies like Adidas to Gucci to Delta.
Mhm.
I'm working with like the household consumer brands, partnering with agencies, being the extension of their chat, like the offering. That's really where we want to go. Me and I are both excited to also work in the experiential space, to leverage on and offline realities. When someone goes to an experience, there'll be an extension of that on your cell phone. But really, it's working with those big brands, because right now our competitors in the space are predominantly working with digital educational product entrepreneurs, coaches, stuff like that. And we see such a bigger opportunity to work with brands that have empires on social media.
Nice.
I just want to add
Awesome.
like one little thing there. So you know how like I don't know 5+ years ago there was like a I don't know what there was like a push saying like, oh my gosh, all the kids are going to be like buying digital products like through video games. And everyone was like, that's never going to happen. Now, fast forward to now, and you can buy Snoop Dogg's car in Fortnite, right? And parents and kids are paying a lot of money for that. And so I think there's something interesting about the chat space in that same direction. Like I think people with the rise of ChatGPT, people are going to feel even more comfortable communicating in this way and expect to communicate in a back and forth way as opposed to just being screamed at for their attention all the
Well,
time.
and that's how, I mean, being a parent of kids who grew up in the digital world, um, I've seen it. I mean, the way they communicate, the way they talk, the way they, for them, it's a natural evolution into a lot of this stuff. I talked at a university the other day, and one of the students was asking me, "Hey, is AI what are we gonna do when we grow up? What's our careers look like?" I was like, "I don't know, man. I mean, it's scary. If I was you, I said it's also exciting. There's
Yeah.
opportunity." But it's kind of terrifying because what is tomorrow? I don't know. I mean, I don't know
I
how,
don't know.
and this is rapidly moving. It's moving fast, fast, fast. And how far have we come since this came on board? I mean, in the past year, I mean, it is rapidly taking over
Yeah.
our lives. And then Jackie reminds me as I'm in a panic mode, she's like, you've been using AI for years. I said, what do you mean? She goes, your maps. It's telling you where to go
Yeah.
and you're listening to it. I mean, like I am plugging in things
Oh
that's been
yeah.
going on for years since Garmin, so that's been around. It's just getting more in our space.
Exactly.
So,
I think the question is just how do we evolve with the times, but be mindful about it, and
mhm.
it feels like the wild, wild west. But I refuse to be left behind with the technology evolution. Like, no.
But at the
Oh, I
same
don't think
time, I
there's any
think that
chance of that.
there's an important thing to like also like as the kids say, touch grass once in a while.
Hmm. Well, I think it's important just, and everybody we've talked to, we were in Italy a couple years ago and we were talking to a guy who owned the house that we're staying. And he was an artist and he showed us the studio and it was just great. It was really cool. And he was bringing that up. He's like, look, man, wow, I'm worried as an artist because pretty soon, and it's already happening. They said a recent AI painting sold for like 2.3 million at Sotheby's, and it was generated by literally a robot who painted it. And it was like, because it was a fad, I guess, whatever. But having our humanity still in everything that we do, and that's what I like about you guys. What you're doing is that there is a human voice inside of there because you're connecting with that brand and you have that sensibility about it. It's not what I like about ChatGPT is when you go in there and you ask it to create for you versus creating it with it. If you use it as a tool to create with you, I think that's beneficial. When you ask it to do all the heavy lifting and the hard work, what have we learned? And eventually we stop learning. And so that's the concern. But
1,000%. And I appreciate that you can see that just through a little snippet of our work.
mhm.
We we really dive in to know a brand before, like, we don't use templates. We're not one of those like one size fits all model. If you come to us, like one time we had a smaller business come to us and be like, I want this, this, and this. And then Mia said to me, Elissa, we're not a McDonald's menu. Like we're not a McDonald's menu. You can't just like come plug and play. Like
Good
we're
for
going
you.
to be, you know, one of the sayings we say is like, we're bringing your voice to life, you know, and that sounds so simple, and that's what marketing is. And it's, you know, it's really, it's fun, and it's a hard job to do with chat. But when it's done well, as you can see, it evokes really great performance metrics.
Love it.
So everybody needs to follow Huxly, or Hey Huxley specifically, and do the demo, and keep an eye on y'all for whatever you're going to do next, because I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
Thanks. I think so. And then one of our goals is also to be dropping like chatbot wisdom in there about, you know, something we really care a lot about is being mindful of the audience's mental health, and being, you know, because people are lonely today. There's a loneliness epidemic. We're seeing that even just in our data, in the sense of how vulnerable people are. So as chatbots take off, you know, one of our goals is to be a voice and a leader in the space about how do you use this ethically for people's mental health, from data, all the things. So
That's awesome. That is awesome. Thank you both so much for joining us and for being a part of it. I encourage everyone to follow y'all and make sure that they're staying up to what you're doing. And thanks for being with us.
thank you.
It is.